Warriors, welcome back to Gods of Alliance. If you're here, it means you want power, knowledge, and control over the battlefield. This is not luck. This is strategy. Let's break the game together. Today we need to talk about something much bigger than a normal season update, because the new Scorching Flame season calendar has officially arrived. And Warriors, this is not just another collection of rewards, skins, and events thrown into the game to keep players busy for a few weeks. This season feels different, very different, because for the first time in quite a while, we are starting to see major structural changes happening inside Hero Wars itself. Old events disappearing, new progression systems appearing, reward structures moving around, entire mechanics being redistributed into completely new events. And whenever developers start changing progression structures this aggressively, it usually means one thing: they are testing the future direction of the game. And honestly, Warriors, some of these changes are massive. Because yes, everybody immediately focuses on the exciting surface-level things first. Kendle arriving, Dorian's rework, new relics, new skins, chaos mechanics becoming stronger. But hidden quietly behind all the hype, some classic events are simply gone. Outland Splendor, gone. Treasures of Valkyries, gone. Talisman Fever, gone too. And before people immediately panic, especially regarding Talisman Fever, let's stay intelligent here, because there is almost no chance the developers permanently remove one of the most important progression systems. Currently connected to account optimization, talismans became far too important for hero scaling, too important for long-term progression, and honestly too important for the game economy itself. So most likely, this is restructuring, not deletion. But the really important removals are actually two completely different events: Runic Milestone, Alliance of Forces, and Warriors. Those are huge removals, because both events were heavily connected to progression efficiency and resource optimization for growing accounts, which immediately raises the biggest question of the entire season: what replaces them? And, even more importantly, will the rewards actually be better? Because this is where seasons become dangerous. New events can create incredible opportunities for progression, but they can also completely reshape pacing inside the game itself. And honestly, this season already feels like the developers are experimenting with exactly that. Now let's break everything down properly, because there is a lot happening inside this calendar. The season officially begins May 11th with Abyss Splendor. And immediately this becomes interesting, because instead of the classic Outland Splendor opening, we suddenly receive something completely different. But here's the important part. Abyss Splendor still revolves around Outland exploration, tower progression, and Titanite farming, but now it introduces rune spheres into the reward structure. And that matters, because rune progression is becoming more and more important across the entire game every single month. So instead of simply repeating old seasonal structures over and over again, the developers appear to be redistributing progression systems into newer event formats. And honestly, if balanced correctly, that is actually very smart, because suddenly, the opening event no longer feels routine. It feels important again. Then from May 14th until May 17th, we move into Path to Perfection, featuring Miyu. And Warriors, people should not underestimate this event, because Miyu is quietly becoming more and more relevant inside magical critical hit compositions and blindness control strategies. The more magical critical mechanics continue expanding across Hero Wars, the more naturally valuable heroes like Miyu become, which means this event may quietly become extremely valuable for future-oriented accounts preparing for long-term magical compositions. Then we move into one of the most interesting timings in the entire season: Way of Chaos, May 18th until May 20th. And Warriors. This timing is not random, because Way of Chaos arrives during the exact same season where chaos mechanics are becoming one of the biggest focuses in the game. Kendle enters the battlefield. Dorian receives a major rework. Relics continue expanding. Pure damage interactions become more dangerous. And the featured hero for the event? Dorian. That matters a lot, because now players gain direct access to chaos progression during the exact moment where chaos itself may be entering one of the strongest phases we have seen in years. And considering everything we already know about sacrifice mechanics, critical pure damage interactions, and scaling pressure compositions, this event may become much more important than people currently realize. Then, on May 21st, we arrive at one of the most important moments of the entire season. Shards of the Past, a completely new event. And honestly, Warriors, this may quietly become one of the most valuable progression events the game has introduced in a very long time, if the rewards remain strong moving forward. Because this event heavily focuses on relic progression, talisman resources, rune systems, arena activities, and Hydra progression. But the most important detail? Relic shards. Finally. And honestly, relic systems desperately needed stronger accessibility if relics are going to remain a central progression mechanic moving forward. Now here's where things become very interesting. This event may actually explain why Talisman Fever disappeared. Because Shards of the Past appears to absorb multiple progression systems into one larger event structure instead of separating them across isolated events. And that changes everything, especially for level 120 players. Because now relics, talismans, runes, and artifact progression are slowly starting to merge into one giant progression ecosystem. And honestly, that is much healthier for the game, if balanced properly. Now, of course, there is one important confirmation already. No new talismans arrived during this event. That was officially confirmed. But even without new talismans, this event already looks extremely valuable, simply because relic progression itself is becoming more and more important every month. Then comes Seer's game. And Warriors, you already know exactly what this means. Luck, pain, suffering, Mama Chaba destroying dreams while players pray the cards stop punishing them. The classic experience. Then from May 27th until May 30th, we enter another completely new event, Rune Storm. And this one may also explain why Runic Milestone disappeared from the calendar. Because Rune Storm heavily focuses on rune stones, rune spheres, gear fragments, and expedition resources, which once again suggests the developers are redistributing progression systems into newer event structures instead of maintaining the older isolated formats. And honestly, at this point, the entire season starts feeling less like a normal seasonal calendar and more like a full progression restructuring experiment happening in real time. Then, finally, May 30th. And Warriors. This is where the season explodes visually. Blazing skins arrive. Kayla, Dorian, Kendle. And visually alone, this season is absolutely on fire. But more importantly, skins are never just cosmetics inside Hero Wars, because depending on the stats attached to them, skins can completely change scaling priorities, hero survivability, offensive pressure, and battlefield performance, especially during a season introducing relics, reworks, chaos mechanics, and scaling pure damage interactions, meaning these skins may end up having much larger impact than people currently expect. Then moving into June 2nd until June 4th brings Secrets of the Dungeon, still one of the best events for Titan Skin Stone progression and dungeon development. Then June 5th we move into Power of the Elements, alongside Titan Power, both remaining extremely important for Titan artifact scaling and long-term Titan optimization. So overall, Warriors, this season feels structurally different from everything we've seen recently. Not worse, different. And that difference matters, because new events usually mean the developers are testing new reward pacing, new progression systems, new engagement structures, and possibly even entirely new long-term directions for the game itself, especially after removing events like Runic Milestone, Alliance of Forces, Outland Splendor, Treasures of Valkyries, Talisman Fever. Those are not small names. And that means the next months inside Hero Wars may become extremely important depending on what the developers are preparing behind the scenes. Now combine all of this with Kendle entering the game, Dorian's rework, expanding chaos mechanics, relic progression, and critical pure damage interactions, and Warriors. This season suddenly starts looking much bigger than a normal update. This feels like the beginning of a new phase for Hero Wars. So stay ready, stay informed, and stay ahead of the meta. Because while everyone else simply looks at rewards, we look at systems. We look at patterns. We look at where the game is going next. Warriors. This is how we play the game. Not randomly, not blindly, with knowledge, with precision, with control. We don't build randomly. We build with intention. Master the mechanics. Control the fight. Let's break the game together.